Issue 27. Prejudice. Prejudice means judgment in advance. Because no one can know everything, we often take mental shortcuts. So, based on cases we know about, or what others have told us about certain groups, we make assumptions about various traits that we associate with that group, even though these assumptions may not apply to the specific individual. Sometimes the assumptions are positive, but often they are negative. Thus, we know that person X belongs to Group A, a Christian, a Russian, a teenager, or from a rich and distinguished family, etc. But we don't really know person X well, or maybe not at all, and we automatically assign the qualities that we associate with Group A to him or her. Perhaps, as we come to know person X, or learn more about him or her, we modify these assumptions or abandon them entirely. Or sometimes we change our preconceptions about Group A. Even though the entire process is flawed and illogical, we probably never can entirely abandon this way of thinking. We can, however, try to keep an open mind and realize what our individual prejudices are so that we can recognize them as such and minimize their ability to control our decision-making. What does it mean? 1. We often take mental shortcuts. 2. We modify these assumptions. 3. The entire process is flawed and illogical. Comprehension. 1. Is prejudice a good thing or a bad thing? Can it be both? 2. Do individuals match all of the attributes associated with the groups they belong to? 3. Describe any prejudices you think you have or may have had.
Teen Talk. Is it a fact or prejudice? 1. Girls are more talkative than boys. 2. Mothers love their children more than fathers do. 3. Teachers only like students with good grades. 4. Stay-at-home moms and house husbands are slackers with no ambition. 5. These days, women treat their pets better than they treat men. 6. The rich are tax evaders. 7. The poor are lazy. 8. The elderly are out of touch. 9. The young are rude and discourteous. 10. Fat people do not exercise. 11. Really skinny people must be dieting in an unhealthy manner. 12. Teenagers cannot really experience true romantic love, only puppy love. 13. People who seem pious are usually hypocrites. 14. Foreign men are selfish. 15. The ones in my particular group are almost always better than members of other groups. Opinion samples. 1. We always hear about maternal love or maternal instinct, but very seldom about instinctive paternal affection. I suppose that this is because in most societies, mothers spend more time at home with their children than fathers do. It is probably also, of course, because of the intimate bonding that occurs between the pregnant mother and the child in the womb. For 9 months, they are eating the same food and sharing the same environment, even as the infant slowly develops a separate identity. But in the real world, conditions are often different. Aunts and grandmothers, or even non-relatives who are hired for the purpose, may do most of the child rearing. A large number of babies are given up for adoption. The actual moms may be neglectful, uncaring, selfish, or absent, and dads may willingly and lovingly take up the slack. Questions. 1. Do you think it is generally true that women are biologically conditioned to love their offspring more than men are? Explain your answer. 2. Do you know of any case in which a woman is not particularly interested in her children?
Opinion samples 2. The rich may indeed be tax evaders, but that is because they are people. Almost everybody tries to minimize the amount of taxes he or she pays, and almost no one pays more than he or she has to. The only real difference between rich and poor is that the wealthy have more opportunities for successful evasion. Various categories of wealth, capital gains, bonuses, income, inherited property, lottery winnings, rents, royalties, etc., may not all be taxed at the same rate, and various tax shelters may not readily be available to people of modest means. The vast majority of people spend most of their money or necessities, so they have little left over to place into low-tax situations. But the wealthy have a great deal of money that they do not have to spend. Their expenses are largely discretionary, so they can put capital in categories that are not highly taxed, or they can deposit it in foreign bank accounts to hide it from their government's tax coffers. They can hire talented accountants who know how to take advantage of tax laws and loopholes. And they can even spend money to influence legislatures to write laws and to influence tax officials to interpret those laws that benefit the rich. But the truth is, the less rich would do the same if only they had the means to do so. Questions. 1. Is the tax code fair in your opinion? What's wrong with it? How could it be improved? 2. As far as you know, are taxes too high? How could they be lowered?
Dialogue. I want you to get off the phone now. You have a lot of homework to do.
But I'm talking to my boyfriend.
Your boyfriend?
Well, he's not my boyfriend yet, but I want him to be my boyfriend.
Well, boyfriend or not, it's time to hang up.
But Dad…
Now.
Okay. Sorry, Dave. My dad says I have to say goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow.
Good. Now let's get busy on that homework.
Okay. Just a moment.
Is there something you want to say?
Well, sometimes I just wonder.
Wonder what?
If you were ever my age.
Of course I was. I started as a baby and advanced to your age and then became an adult, just like everybody else.
But when did you get amnesia?
Why do you say that?
You might have been my age once, but you never seemed to act like it. Can't you remember what it was like?
Of course I do. Watching you go through life always reminds me of going through the same process. I know sometimes it was very frustrating and confusing.
Then why don't you have more empathy for my situation? That phone call was very important to me.
So's your homework.
I know that, but I still have lots of time to do my homework. I wasn't going to talk to Dave all night, just a little bit longer.
But you've been on the phone since you got home.
But I talked to all my friends. Dave only called a few minutes ago.
An hour ago.
Well, maybe almost an hour, but it didn't seem that long. We were almost done.
Well, you're done now. You'll see Dave tomorrow.
You just don't understand anything.
I understand a lot. I remember being your age and wanting to do the same things you want to do. I remember how angry I got at my parents when they wouldn't let me do them.
You remember all that, and yet you still treat me the same way.
Yes, because I'm not your age anymore. I haven't been your age for a long time. I remember what it was like, but now I'm the same age my parents were when I was your age.
So?
So, I know more than I did when I was your age. I've come to realize my parents were usually right, and I want you to get the same benefits from their wisdom that I got.
I appreciate your wisdom, and I know you want the best for me, but I still need to be me. I need to learn from my own mistakes, and I need to have my own friends and my own future.
You're right. I'll try to interfere in your life a little bit less, but I'm not ready. You're not ready to let you make every decision yourself.
I'll accept that for now.
Good. Now, please do your homework.
Questions. 1. Who's right, Carol or her father? Explain your answer. 2. Do you mostly get to do what you want, or do your parents mostly decide what you do? What are the good and bad points of your situation? 3. Do you think adults really remember what it was like being your age, or are they just fooling themselves into thinking they remember? Why do you think so? Read and discuss. Being an invalid does not make a person invalid. With little or no understanding of the actual circumstances, we often rush to judgment. One example of this is the way we tend to treat people with physical disabilities. By definition, blind people cannot see, but poor eyesight does not imply poor IQ. People in wheelchairs cannot walk, but having weak or missing legs does not mean having a weak mind. Being deaf does not equate to being daft. One sort of disability does not automatically infer disability throughout the system. Physical handicaps do not always signal mental handicaps. But because of our prejudices and bigotries, we undeservedly handicap those same people who do not need to be further disadvantaged, when a little inexpensive assistance, ramps instead of stairs, braille elevator buttons, crosswalk recordings, and so on, would be of great help. But of far greater harm is the attitude displayed to people with defects. They are ridiculed, isolated, ignored, talked down to, passed over for job opportunities, and otherwise treated as subhuman. Their contributions to society are spurned, and, as a result, society is the greatest loser. Questions. 1. Do you know any handicapped people? Aside from their obvious defect, in what ways are they different from anyone else? 2. What does being deaf does not equate to being daft mean? Do you agree or disagree with the statement? 3. Do you have any suggestions about improving the treatment of the impaired?
Pictures talk. One. Questions. 1. Is money a source of good fortune or misfortune? 2. How does big money bring about estrangement between close people? 3. What is the best way for the rich to be happy with their money?
2. Questions. 1. Fashion magazines display skinny models as great beauties. Do you agree or disagree with this viewpoint? 2. Most of the photographs in fashion magazines are airbrushed. What do you think? Is that practice okay, or does it mislead people? 3. What is inner beauty? Describe people who are beautiful inside no matter what their external appearance is like. What's your advice? 1. I love brand-name clothes, shoes, bags, and other accessories. I know these items are more expensive than regular goods, but they give me more satisfaction. They look better, they fit better, they are more stylish, and they are more durable than cheap goods. I am not rich, but I am glad to spend what little I have on things that make me happy. Unfortunately, my friends regard me as extravagant and criticize my spending habits. They accuse me of being too status conscious. Their complaints bother me. What can I do to convince my friends I am not a spendthrift? Or do I need to change my shopping habits?
2. I guess I am very shy and reserved. I don't mind being an introvert because I enjoy reading and being by myself. I don't feel lonely, but my problem is that others don't understand me or accept me for who I am. That's why the ones around me, including even my parents sometimes, think I don't love them. They accuse me of being selfish. They take a very superficial view of my character and fail to see that I am always ready to help them and share with them, even though I'm not very good at expressing my feelings. Is it my fault or their fault? How can I get them to know me as I really am?